The first one I do want to talk about is why we do what we do and for who. So development itself. I think Lola started by talking about that. A little bit early on in my career, I was charged with working with organizations and training on the rights-based approach when civil and political rights organizations were moving towards that, as well as economic organizations were moving towards a rights-based programming. And I was sitting in that room with about 20 people talking about rights and talking about accountability measures and I got the sense very clearly for the first time that we didn't believe the same thing. That in that room, we still use the language of them, and we still use that language today, the poor, the community, the locals. And unless we individually check ourselves when we use that language to mean the other, which when you look at the world, the darker you are, the poorer you are. It's just that simple, just the world is structured that way, even in countries that are Black or brown, the darker you are, the poorer you are. So that we pay attention to those things and that we, moving forward then, start to pay attention to our language. The fact that in the UK, the language of charity is still what's used to define an international development organization. It's still a charity. I think it says something about how we have not taken the time to deconstruct and to check our language. And yes, poverty porn being one of the things that we've tried to move away from, the little Black kid with bloated stomach and flies around that face. But the rest of how we portray that has not actually changed. So that is one thing that I think we can check ourselves.
I think dismantling racist development norms, like I said, using generic and harmful poverty porn to raise money for institutions when that money isn't going to the people that you're showing on your social media or in your marketing materials.
The first thing I would say, let's stop calling it local. Expertise is expertise, because local makes it small. Local makes international expertise wider, deeper, better than local, and local becomes only needed when you are in that particular locality. And going back to what Stephanie says, the costs are different, the pricing are different, the payment are different. I think the question is, what is the expertise that we're looking for? And then getting the expertise that is closest to where the work needs to be done. Because once you think about that, it is no longer called local versus global. And I think that's the first thing that we need to do. Second, I also think that being able to share and position our work. What is it that, I think it was Lorianne that said, somebody who comes on the continent, spend 3 weeks, goes back and is an expert, has traveled and becomes an expert all of a sudden. An African who has spent 20 years working in Latin America, across the continent, in Europe, comes back and is only the expert of that country. So I think part of that understanding is clear, and just saying, what is the expertise that I seek, and having a variety of expertise. So local knowledge or contextual knowledge is a part of that expertise. And understanding the language is a part of that expertise, but skill set doesn't just sit there. And I think if we add context to a set of expertise, then that even becomes stronger than going outside of the country to get that skill set. I think that is the first thing to say, what do we need, and how important it is understanding context. Relationships are important in the work that we do. And that becomes added value and even things that should be paid more for, not less.